You're serving 25 to life for a murder you actually committed. Gang killing in East Los Angeles, 19 years old. A beef over territory that mattered then and means nothing now. You've been inside for 6 years. You've learned how to move through the tears without attracting attention, how to read faces for threat assessment, how to sleep with one eye open in a place where closing both can get you killed. Prison is its own country, with its own rules, and you've become fluent. The cartel finds you through the network that connects every prison in the Southwest. A man approaches you in the yard, older, respected, someone whose name you've heard whispered in contexts that demand respect. He knows your case. He knows your skills. He knows you have no family on the outside, no visitors, no one who would notice or care if something happened to you. He's offering an opportunity. They need someone who can solve problems. Permanent problems. Witnesses who are scheduled to testify. Informants who made deals with prosecutors. Enemies who made the mistake of getting arrested instead of killed. These people end up in prison, and prison is supposed to be safe, and the cartel needs to prove that nowhere is safe. They need someone with nothing to lose. They're looking at you. You should say no. You should walk away, do your time, hope for parole in 15 years. But you're also doing the math. 25 to life means you might die in here anyway. The cartel is offering protection, money sent to an account you'll never touch, a purpose in a place designed to strip you of purpose. They're offering to make you matter. In a world where you've been nothing for 6 years, mattering feels like oxygen. You say yes. The first job comes 3 weeks later. The target is a man named Reyes. He's in protective custody, theoretically isolated, scheduled to testify against cartel leadership in a federal case. Protective custody means a different cell block, different yard time, different everything. It means the prison thinks he's safe. The prison is wrong. You spend 2 weeks studying patterns. Guard rotations memorized down to the minute. Meal schedules mapped against shift changes. The brief moments when protective custody inmates cross paths with general population. Medical appointments, legal visits, transfers between buildings. The bureaucratic necessities that create windows in even the most secure systems. Prisons are designed to keep people in, not to keep people apart from each other. There are always gaps. You just have to find them. You find one. A corridor between the infirmary and the administrative wing, used for transfers when inmates need medical records processed. 60 seconds of vulnerability, a stretch of hallway where the camera has been broken for 3 months and hasn't been fixed because the budget for repairs doesn't exist, and nobody with authority cares about a camera in a corridor that nothing ever happens in. The system's weakness is the same thing that makes it a system. Bureaucracy, indifference, the assumption that nothing will go wrong because nothing has gone wrong before. You make a shank from a piece of metal bed frame, worked loose over weeks of patient manipulation, sharpened over more weeks against the concrete floor of your cell during the hours when guards don't check. The weapon is crude but effective. 6 inches of steel that will punch through flesh like paper if you hit the right spots with enough force. You hide it in a hollowed-out book from the prison library, a Bible that nobody thinks to search, because who searches Bibles? Who suspects the Word of God of concealing the tools of murder? The day comes. You position yourself near the corridor during the window you've identified, loitering with purpose, looking like you're waiting for something legitimate. Reyes appears right on schedule, escorted by a single guard who's distracted by paperwork, by the routines of a job that stopped feeling dangerous years ago. 60 seconds. You move fast, close the distance before either of them understands what's happening. The shank goes in 3 times. Liver, lung, heart, the sequence you've rehearsed in your mind 100 times. Reyes drops. The guard doesn't understand what's happened until you're already walking away. The weapon discarded in a trash can that will be emptied before anyone thinks to search it. You're back in your cell before lockdown, hands washed, clothes unchanged, nothing to connect you to the body cooling in the corridor. They search the block, interview witnesses who saw nothing, review footage that shows nothing useful because the camera was broken and no one had fixed it. Nobody talks. The code holds even among men who don't know what they're covering. Reyes was alive, and now he's dead. And the cartel has proven its point. Protective custody doesn't protect. The walls the government builds are just walls. The cartel can reach through them whenever it wants. The money appears in an account 3 days later. $50,000 held for you until you get out. If you get out. But the money isn't why you did it. You did it because for the first time in 6 years, you were good at something. You had purpose. You mattered to people who have the power to make things happen. The feeling is addictive in ways the prison counselor would call concerning. The second job is harder. A former cartel accountant named Morales, housed in a federal facility, extra security, more eyes on him at all times. You can't reach him directly. You have to be creative. You recruit. A guard named Patterson who has gambling debts and a wife who doesn't know about them. You don't approach him yourself. That's not how this works. Someone on the outside makes contact, explains the situation, offers a solution to his problems in exchange for a small favor. All Patterson has to do is leave a door unlocked at a specific time. He doesn't have to know why. He doesn't have to be involved in what happens next. Patterson leaves the door unlocked. You walk through it at 2 a.m., when the night shift is skeleton crew, and the cameras are monitored by a man who's been paid to watch something else. Morales is asleep when you enter his cell. He wakes up when you put your hand over his mouth. He dies looking into your eyes, understanding in his final moments exactly what his cooperation with prosecutors has cost him. They find the body at morning count. The investigation goes nowhere. Patterson has an alibi. The cameras show nothing. The inmates claim ignorance. The federal marshals who were supposed to keep Morales alive until trial are reassigned in disgrace. The cartel sends a message to every potential witness in America. We can reach you anywhere. You become specialized. The go-to solution for problems that exist behind bars. Your reputation spreads through the network. Not your name, never your name, but the knowledge that someone inside can handle things. Jobs come more frequently. Witnesses, informants, rivals, people who simply need to disappear. You develop methods, refine techniques, become an artist in a medium of violence. Year 3 inside the system. You've killed 11 men. You know this because you count them, not out of guilt, but out of professional pride. 11 problems solved. 11 messages sent. 11 proofs that the cartel's reach extends beyond any wall the government can build. The money accumulates. Over $200,000 now, waiting in accounts you'll never access from in here. You're not doing it for the money anymore. You're doing it because this is who you are now. The version of yourself that existed before, the 19-year-old with a gun and a beef, is a stranger. You've evolved into something more efficient, more purposeful. You've become an instrument. The jobs get more complex. A protected witness in a supermax facility, solitary confinement, no contact with other inmates. You can't reach him directly, so you reach his family instead. Not violence. That would be crude, obvious, just information. His daughter's school schedule, his mother's medical appointments. The message is clear. Testify and they suffer. He refuses to testify. He hangs himself in his cell 3 weeks later. You didn't touch him. You didn't have to. Fear is a weapon too. You start training others. Young inmates who arrive with the same emptiness you had, the same need to matter. You teach them what you've learned. Patience, observation, the art of finding gaps in systems that think they're secure. Some of them are talented. Some of them are reckless. The reckless ones don't last long. The talented ones become assets, nodes in a network that extends across dozens of facilities. Year 5. You've built something. Not officially. Nothing about this is official. But functionally, you're running operations from inside a cell. Orders come through coded messages, passed hand to hand through a chain that reaches from cartel leadership to your tier. You assess targets, plan approaches, delegate to the men you've trained. You've become management. The irony of finding a career path in prison isn't lost on you. The FBI notices. They don't know who you are, but they know something is happening. Too many witnesses dying. Too many informants going silent. They launch an investigation, start looking at patterns, trying to identify the spider at the center of the web. You hear about it through the network. You should be worried. Instead, you're flattered. A prosecutor named Chen visits you personally. She's building a case, she says. She knows you're involved in something. She's offering a deal. Testimony against the cartel in exchange for reduced sentence, witness protection, a chance at life outside these walls. She thinks she's offering you a way out. You laugh. Not cruelly. She doesn't deserve cruelty for doing her job. But she doesn't understand what she's asking. She's asking you to betray the only people who've ever valued you. She's asking you to become the thing you've spent 5 years eliminating. She's asking you to be Reyes, to be Morales, to be every name on the list of people who thought cooperation would save them. You decline. Politely. You explain that you can't help her. She leaves with nothing, and that night her name gets added to a list. Not to kill. Prosecutors are different. The heat isn't worth it. But to watch. To remind her that she's not as safe as she thinks. Year 7. The investigation intensifies. They're getting closer, connecting dots, finding the guards you've compromised and the inmates you've trained. Federal agents interview everyone who's had contact with you, building a timeline, mapping relationships, reconstructing the network node by node. The web starts to unravel at the edges. Men flip, hoping to save themselves, trading information for reduced sentences or protective custody, or the simple promise of survival. The cartel responds the way cartels respond. The witness list for the investigation against you becomes a target list, and suddenly flipping doesn't seem like such a good deal anymore. But some of them talk anyway. Fear of the cartel versus fear of federal prison, and for some men, the federal prison wins. They describe operations, identify targets, explain methods. They give testimony that will fill hundreds of pages of court documents. They point at you, the spider they never met but always knew existed, and they say, "He's the one." You're moved to solitary. Administrative segregation, they call it. Isolation for your own protection, though the protection they're offering is from consequences they created. 23 hours a day in a cell the size of a bathroom. No contact with other inmates. No yard time with anyone except yourself. No way to coordinate, to communicate, to continue the work you've built. The network you created will survive without you. That's how you designed it. But you won't be part of it anymore. You're being erased from your own creation. The cartel doesn't forget you. Messages still arrive, passed through guards who remain loyal or compromised, written in codes you've established over years. They're working on your situation, they say. Lawyers, appeals, the legal machinery that can slow things down even if it can't stop them. They appreciate your service. They won't abandon you. The messages are reassuring. The messages also acknowledge implicitly that there's probably nothing they can do. You're too visible now. You're evidence of everything prosecutors have been trying to prove. The trial comes in year 8. Federal charges: conspiracy, murder for hire, racketeering, violations of RICO statutes, a list of crimes that reads like a law school exam question. The evidence is overwhelming. Guards have testified about doors left unlocked, schedules shared, warnings undelivered. Inmates have testified about orders received, payments promised, the architecture of a system designed to reach into places designed to be unreachable. The investigation that started as curiosity has become a machine dedicated to your destruction, and the machine is working perfectly. You don't testify. You don't defend yourself. You sit in the courtroom in your orange jumpsuit and watch the system process you, transform you from a person into a case number, into a conviction. The verdict is guilty on all counts. The sentence is life without parole, plus an additional 120 years for good measure. The judge calls you a menace, an exemplar of everything wrong with the criminal justice system. You accept the description. You've never been called an exemplar of anything before. They transfer you to ADX Florence, Supermax, the place where they send people they never want to see again. 23 hours of solitary, 1 hour in a cage they call a recreation yard, No contact with anyone except guards who rotate too frequently to compromise. This is where you'll die. Not violently, just slowly, alone, forgotten by everyone except the men who gave you purpose. The cartel's messages stop. Not because they've abandoned you, because they can't reach you anymore. Florence is designed to be impenetrable, and for once, the design works. You're cut off from the network, from the work, from the identity you built inside the system. You're just an inmate again. Less than an inmate. A number in a box, waiting for decades to pass. You think about the men you killed. Not with guilt. Guilt requires believing you did something wrong, and you've never believed that. They were witnesses, informants, betrayers. They chose their side, and their side lost. That's not murder. That's warfare. That's the natural consequence of decisions made in a world where consequences are real. But you also think about who you were before. The 19-year-old who killed over territory. The kid who thought he was hard because he could pull a trigger. You were nothing then. Angry and nothing. The cartel gave you something to be. They made you matter. The fact that mattering meant killing, you can live with that. You've been living with it for years. The cell is 8 feet by 12. Concrete walls, steel door, a window that shows a slice of Colorado sky. You'll see that sky every day for the rest of your life. You'll age in this room, grow old in this room, eventually die in this room. The world outside will continue without you. The cartel will find other solutions to their problems. The witnesses you didn't kill will testify, and some cases will be won, and others will be lost, and none of it will have anything to do with you anymore. You were good at something. For 12 years, you were the best at something most people don't even know exists. The cartel paid you, trusted you, relied on you. You had purpose in a place designed to strip men of purpose. You built something, a network, a system, a legacy of silence enforced through violence. You mattered. Now you're in a box, waiting to stop mattering, waiting for the decades to pass, waiting for an ending that won't be violent or meaningful or anything except slow. 25 to life became life without parole, became a cell in the mountains of Colorado, where nothing ever happens. You made your choices. The choices made you. This is where the making ends. That's a wrap. The story is fiction, but prison hits are real. Right now, in facilities across America, witnesses are being silenced and informants are being eliminated by men who found purpose in the worst possible place. The system tries to protect them. The system keeps failing. If this made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more.